Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Big League Breakdowns for day 6 of Around the League in 30 days as we make a stop in Chicago. And the Cubs are next up on our little challenge we've made ourselves. I keep calling it. It's a grind, but we're here and we're ready to talk about the Cubbies. The boys are here, all of us, myself, Tyler, John, Will, Bobby, behind the keys. And guys, I think the Cubs had a pretty good offseason, like all things considered, especially when you look at their division. And they have a
Well, I
legit
named them
chance.
a winner, so I guess that proves my point, and I can be quiet the rest of the episode.
Yeah, you could.
All right, so Will's done.
Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, it's just me and you, John. But let's look at their
Get it.
opening lineup for this one. A projected opening day lineup. Starting at the top, we have Ian Happ, and then of course
And the
Kyle
guy in
Tucker.
the Astros outfit now.
That the guy, yes, exactly. The big piece that they got in Kyle Tucker. Seiya Suzuki back as well. He had a pretty decent season last year. Dansby Swanson, of course, we know how good he is. Down at third base, Matt Shaw, number 19th ranked prospect in the MLB Top 100. Be interesting to see what happens there. And then look at all that depth they got. Carson Kelly, I really like that signing, actually. Justin Turner comes in. Recently, John Birdie and Vidal. I think you spelled that wrong. I'm pretty sure it's Vidal
Bruhan.
Bruhan, but that's okay.
Sorry, he is now Buhan. This is his evil twin.
uh, Looking at their pitching, not too much of a change on the starting rotation side. Of course, Imanaga back after his fantastic season last year. Matthew Boyd comes in, who that's a pretty nice, depth signing, if you will. But the bullpen is really where things changed a lot. I mean, you have Ryan Presley coming in. A name that's actually not on there, Eli Morgan came in as well, which is another big signing
What the hell,
that the Cubs
Bobby?
made. Yeah, the producer just sometimes he drops the ball. It's okay. We love him. Caleb
Just like
Clark
Aaron
as
Judge.
well. Oh,
I
nice.
like that one.
Nice. Good job. So definitely some ads out of that bullpen that needs it, but that is your Cubs. The look at them, the projected look for the 2025 season. Getting into the storylines, the big one, of course, the Cubs get Kyle Tucker in the trade. He's only on a 1-year deal, so is this a rental situation for the Cubs? We'll have to see. But Cody Bellinger out, Kyle Tucker in. I think Kyle Tucker, in my opinion, is like, I don't know if it's fair to call him underrated, but I do think he's like one of the underrated superstars in the league. What do you think that addition means for the Cubs?
You better have good offense now. No.
I don't think
Tucker
there's an
is
excuse now.
well, yeah, there's never an excuse for bad offense, even you other side of Chicago.
No, I think they get an excuse.
Okay, whatever. No, it's Tucker signing or trade. I'm turning into you. I'm turning trades into signings and signings into trades. Tucker is going to be exactly what they need.
Where wins
as a
become
big
losses and
impact
losses become wins. I'm sorry.
And the thing is, Tucker, I feel like would have had amazing numbers last year if it wasn't for the fact that he got hurt for half of the season. You say he's kind of an underrated player. I think that's just simply because he got overshadowed by Altuve and Bregman and everyone else that they had there in Houston. But Tucker, I think last year kind of showed that he was ready to take the next step and become more of a mid 30s home run guy, 100 RBIs, and he's always been a very smart hitter. He doesn't strike out a lot and he will walk. So having someone like that at the top of the order and getting rid of Bellinger, you're getting the offensive bat you wanted from Bellinger. And by now having Pete Crow-Armstrong kind of take everyday duties in the outfield, you're going to have defense that you lost with Bellinger too. So I think it's a huge win.
Yeah, I think again, as I mentioned, I'm a really big Kyle Tucker fan, and all those names definitely overshadowed him. But he is again a potential superstar for them, and is going to really have to step up if they are to make a playoff push. John, you look at his projections; obviously projected really well, and I think again he can really be a cornerstone of that team. The question is going to be, is it a 1-year thing?
I think definitely it's a 1-year thing. I think that, well, no, I retract that. Hold on, let me retract that a little bit
Do
because
sir.
All right, rewind.
Rewind that. No, I think that this really depends on how this year goes. If he has a 30-something home run year, an on base percentage in the 370s, like how he had one 2 years ago in the 360s, and has a batting average close to 300, then yes, it's a 1 year deal. Like this is a rental. If it is comparable to 2 years ago, if it's comparable to last year and what he would have had, then clearly this is a guy that, the Cubs can sign long term, and they should sign long term. I agree with Will. He was overshadowed by Jordan, but yeah, just overall, this is a great signing. But I think it really does depend.
I think that if you're kind of comparing Tucker and Bellinger, of course Bellinger gives you some of that defensive prowess, but I mean, to me, it's clearly an upgrade on the offensive side. Now, if we get like, rookie of the year, MVP, he won an MVP, right, Bellinger? Like if we get that form
Yeah,
anywhere
he
close to
beat
it,
Yelich that 1 year where the two of them were
yeah.
like really close.
Now, I don't think we're ever getting that again, but if he can,
Mhm.
if he can do well with the Yankees, maybe this is another thing. But to me, I mean, this is a big upgrade. Kyle Tucker coming in, he immediately is your best hitter in the lineup, no questions asked. And he slots in nicely. I think Seiya Suzuki had a decent year last year. Having him, potentially behind Tucker could be good. Dansby Swanson, he's still, obviously a great player, and we'll see what he can bring to the offensive side. So I think I still look at their lineup and have some questions, but I think it really is the fact that, they're in the division that they're in. The Brewers are going to be probably good again because that's just what they do, but the other three teams are probably not going to be playoff teams. And you're going to get a lot of wins off of them. So if you're the Cubs, like, can you, do enough to get in? We'll have to see. But I do still have some questions about that lineup. And then going to the bullpen side of things, they bring in Ryan Presley, who, God, remember last year as the season started when the Astros were just horrible. He was blowing saves left and right. We all thought he was washed. He did pick it up toward the end, but this is a potential big piece for the Cubs. We know that Presley does have the ability to be a shutdown closer. So, well, what do you think the Cubs are getting in him? Another former Astros player.
I think they're going to get a reliable guy. I know he was on the spreadsheet listed as the closer for the team this year. I think that they're going to go more towards Porter Hodges as the closer, and Presley's going to be a setup guy. Because the thing about Presley is that he is starting to decline. I mean, his ERA was still respectable last year at 3.49, and Zips projects it'll be slightly lower than that. But the big thing that I look at is the type of contact he was getting was really up, especially with just how many base runners there were. He had a whip of 1.34, which was up from 1.07 the year before that, 0.89 the year before that. His hits per 9 innings were way up at 9.32 when it was 7 the year before that, 5 the year before that, and his opponent's OPS was over 700, where the previous year it was over 600, and the year before that was over 5. So entering like his 36th season, I believe it is, he's not going to be the effective guy that he was when the Astros won the World Series, but he can still be a very nice piece to a bullpen that's projected to have about a 3.8, or I should say at this point, the entire pitching staff as a whole is projected to be about 3.88. I think his ERA could definitely hover around there, and given that he will be a leader within that bullpen for the young guys they have there, I think that it's a very nice trade acquisition for the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, you look at his numbers from last year, as I kind of alluded to, he had a really bad March and April. 11
So
and
did the
2.
entire Astros pitching staff,
Oh,
if you
but
remember our
dude,
episode.
I know that's what I'm saying. He was a part of that because it felt like he literally couldn't get batters out at that point. But through 11 and 2/3 innings pitched in March and April, he had a 6.17 ERA. He had another bad month in August, only 7 innings pitched, but a 5.14. Everything else is okay. I mean, May is a 3.72, but I think that start of the season, of course, really weighs into the ERA. So I think he was more reliable than I guess you kind of think, or what you get at face value. So yeah, I do think that him coming in is great for them. Or excuse me, John, what do you think of the
I was
acquisition
gonna say, is John
of?
gonna talk at all this episode? Or we
Sorry,
just
No,
my
no.
bad,
let
my
him
bad.
have a spelling war with Bobby somewhere else.
John, what do you think about this acquisition for the Cubs, who desperately need that bullpen help?
I mean, I think that Will summed it up. I don't need to say anymore. This really
Well,
does
say
help.
something, please.
I don't
Love
want
of
to say anything.
Man,
No,
he just went to bat for you to make sure you got your time here, and you're like, I think he summed it up perfectly.
He went,
Next.
well, I don't
ditto.
want to be repetitive, okay? Our viewers don't need repetitive; they need the facts. All right. Anyway, no, I think this is a good pickup for them. I really think that it helps them with their team ERA. I mean, overall, last year their team ERA at 3.79 was kind of average uh to I don't know, less than average.
Below average?
Yeah, below average. There we go. Um their bullpen was not impressive last year, and that's putting it mildly. The Astros last year, their bullpen
beg to
was
differ.
atrocious, especially early on in the season. But I think just overall, this helps. I mean, it definitely shores up his spot. I don't think he'll be the closer, but I do think that Will said it right with being either a middle relief guy or more likely a setup guy.
Yeah, and I want
This
to
team
talk
had a
about.
good bullpen.
I want to say with the Eli Morgan acquisition as well. I think that's like a low key really good signing. Had a lot of success last year, and that you know if you say like certain teams have like a starting pitching factory or whatever, like the Guardians have that relief pitching factory over there. And I think that's a really good acquisition. Well, I don't know if you have any stats on him, but I know you were saying like you like that
On
signing.
Morgan, I don't think I have anything specifically on Morgan. I agree with you in that he is a sneaky acquisition. I mean, it was a signing. That I do think helps the team, but I more so my numbers are on the team's pitching as a whole, which is in general Craig Counsell's strength is managing rotations and bullpens, because that's what he did really well while in Milwaukee. He didn't make the postseason every year, and usually that was the offense's fault. That's what it was last year for the Cubs too, who were very mid across baseball and a lot of offensive stats, and that's why Tucker will definitely be a big help. But the signing Morgan, or no, Morgan was a trade, was it, or was it a signing?
No,
It was a trade.
Yeah, it was a trade actually. Yep, you're right.
Trading for Morgan, trading for Presley, and then signing Matthew Boyd, I think, is also a sneaky one, even though I'm not positive I see him being in the rotation the entire season. I think that the Cubs are going to build off of that team ERA of 3.79 that they had last year. And the bullpen was honestly one of the best at 3.81. I think that's going to be even better. So the Cubs at this point, they just need their offense to complement the pitching staff, and then beware.
Yeah,
I think that team ERA is definitely going to come down.
Oh, I think so. Yeah,
And projections say it won't.
Of course. By the way,
they're also projecting. Who was it in the last episode to go from like an ERA over 4 to an ERA under 3?
Oh yeah,
it was Garrett Crochet.
Crochet's projections.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Speaking of projections as well, Eli Morgan, looking at his stats from last year, he did miss a lot of time during the regular season, only 42 innings pitched, but 1.93 ERA. So what do you think they're projecting him for his ERA this year?
I don't know what his career numbers are is the problem. I feel like that's heavily weighted.
Yeah, I mean, he's around like a probably like a 4 guy.
For his career, then I'm going to say
like a high 3, low 4 for
all
sure.
right, let's say they go 3-4-3.
3-8-6 after a sorry, John, I didn't give you a chance to guess.
All right,
But
John,
not
guess.
even going to.
sorry.
I think
Yes.
it's going to be a 3-8-7. Are we going for who's closest here?
Yeah, but you went over, so it doesn't count.
It's just
Yeah,
funny
Price
looking
is
at
right.
it's just funny looking at it. Like, the guy had a 1.93 ERA last year, and like it was an outlier year. But yeah, let's like triple
Well,
his.
it's a 1.93, but also it's a very small sample size. I mean, I'm looking at that 401 in 2023 is more comparable to what he'll probably bring to this team.
Or it's the crapshoot that is relief pitchers.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Okay, all right, fine. You know what?
Flip a coin.
If we're going by that standard, if we're going by this pattern of an ERA over 5 his first year, second year ERA of 3, third year over 4, fourth year under 2.
Okay, so that means his ERA is going to be like over 6 this year.
That's what I was going to say. His ERA is going to be over 6, and this is a terrible
who's got
signing.
a quarter? We're just going to go down the list and be like, you are having a good year and bad year.
I don't know,
bad
man.
year.
Like,
Rob Manfred leaked the script, and we got it. All right.
you talk about like going to a different sport. The Kansas City Chiefs have that voodoo. They have that devil magic. Well, the Guardians have that in their bullpen. So maybe if he's not in Cleveland anymore, he goes to Chicago. Maybe it's a little bit different. But again, I like that signing. It's sneaky good signing.
I think the
we just need to start saying acquisition. Just cover all our bases.
Yeah,
there we go. I think I'm going to mispronounce his last name. The Teal Bar. Did I mispronounce that?
Oh, Caleb. Is it?
It's
Caleb
a thigh bar or something.
Is it thigh bar?
Right, that's what we're going with. That's
anyway,
what we're going with.
I'm gonna go. Yeah, fine. Caleb Thigh Bar or Thigh Bar. Sorry,
I'm calling him Caleb.
Sorry, guys. No, I think. All right, you know what? I'm gonna go with Will's answer. I'm gonna call him Caleb. Caleb. His ERA last year was not very impressive, but he's been consistently in like the mid 3s for majority of his career. So this is definitely. I mean, yeah, but that looks more like an outlier than one that is like his career's going down the drain. I think that I mean, granted, he's 37, so that could be an indicator of maybe he's hit that wall finally, because that just tends to happen with relief pitchers. They just suddenly hit a wall. But
one thing, I don't know if there's an official stat that like tells this or something, but part of the reason ERAs are crapshoots when it comes to bullpen arms is when they have a bad outing, it can really affect their ERA. So like it could have a really good season, but then let's say they have 2 outings where they give up 3 runs in less than an inning. Then like boom, their ERAs balloon because they don't have the innings pitched to help like correct that. I do this manually. I don't like, because I said I wish if there's a stat, let me know. It'll save me time. Is just going by like pitchers' outings or game logs throughout the season and just how many of those appearances did they not give up a run? Because then you might have instances, not saying that this is common or true at all. So let me just, hypothetically here is like, all right, he pitches 60 games this year and 42 of those he doesn't give up a run. And his ERA is what? Let's just say it's like 3, and then 4. And then the next year he pitches in 30 games, but he gives up runs or he doesn't give up runs in like 21 of them, and it's like, but his ERA is like 2. It's like, what's the better year and stuff, something like that. Because that's what you really want out of bullpen guys is, everyone's going to have a bad outing, and for bullpen guys, it can balloon their ERA because of it. But how many of those outings as a whole are what's effective? So it's really not always fair, I think, to look at a bullpen guy's ERA.
I mean, in general, I think looking at pitchers that way is tough. Now, for starters,
you should absolutely be looked by that criteria. Well, nothing else.
Look, I think that starters can get obviously more of a leash because of the innings, but like if a guy has like a great season and then puts up like one game, he let up like 11 runs. It's obviously going to
Quality
balloon that.
starts, baby.
That I mean, there is that stat, but I
Which
do
is why
agree with you.
Wheeler is better than Chris Hill.
That's the
Wait a minute,
exact.
so are
That's
you-
exactly who I was thinking of. By the way, as I was saying,
Chris Hill or Wheeler, because that was the argument I tried to use to defend Wheeler as a Cy Young winner. Which was he worthy? Sure. Was he going to be the winner? No, I knew that. I
Yeah.
just wanted my guy to win.
yeah,
Guys, this is not a Braves nor Phillies episode, so let's go back to the
Yeah.
Cubs here.
true.
I'm
The
looking
Windy
at.
City.
All right. Keeping what Will said in mind,
What did I say?
I'm going to switch this up, and I'm going to look at his hits and his walks from last year.
Whips.
His hits have been comparable to his seasons where he's mid threes for his ERA, and what is the phrase I'm looking for? And have been, they're around 50, so that's fine. That was last year's numbers. His walks, on the other hand, they've been climbing. 2021, he had 20. 2022, he had 18, and then 2023 he had 6. But in 2024, he had 24. So that climb there is one thing that I'm really that spike there is something that really worries me if I'm the Cubs. So I really want him to get those walks under control. The hits, they'll come and go. I mean, hitting in baseball, these guys are major leaguers for a reason. They're gonna get hits off of you, but control what you can control, and you can control being in the strike zone.
Yeah. Yeah, I think again, overall I think their bullpen got better, but I'm tired of predicting what bullpens are going to happen. Let's move over to back into the field of play here. Let's talk about that third base situation for the Cubs. You have the projection of Matt Shaw, again, the number 19th ranked prospect last year in the MLB Top 100 as being the guy. Now, they just signed Justin Turner, who is 40, and I hope for their sake is not their third baseman this year, but also it's a veteran presence. So I'm not sure. What do you think, Will, about this? I do think if you look at their lineup, that's probably their biggest question. You just don't know what you're going to get from Shaw, but obviously has a lot of potential.
I'm surprised that there aren't more comparisons between Matt Shaw and then Chris Bryant when Bryant was coming up through the system with the Cubs, because there's a lot of similarities between the two. The real difference is that Bryant in his first full season in the minors had that astronomical home run year where he hit like 43 home runs. But both of them are they hit for power, they hit for average, they have speed. Main difference besides just Bryant's power, or Chris Bryant's power being astronomically higher, was that Matt Shaw doesn't strike out as much and walks a little bit more. So I am all for him being an impact this year and potentially being within that top 3 finish for Rookie of the Year in the National League. I think he can top 20 home runs, and I mean, as you said, with Justin Turner there, if he struggles, they can fill in with Turner, but I think Turner will be more of a mentor for him and a potential platoon, maybe at first, if there's a tough lefty and they don't want to put Bush out there, or if they want to stick Suzuki in the outfield for a game and sit someone. I mean, they could always sit like Pete Crow-Armstrong if they don't think his offense is there for a while, and then they could throw Suzuki in the outfield and Turner's at DH. So, but Shaw, I think I have a lot of look. I feel good about Shaw and what he could bring to this Cubs team, and he is an upgrade for what Paredes and Morel did for the Cubs at third last year.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. Again, it's going to be if he can live up to those expectations, but looking
that
at...
I am putting on him because I'm the only one that is talking this high about you.
No, I think it's you're going to need, you're going to need at least average out of him, right? If this is going to be like a contender. I I say a contender in the NL Central, which is not very. It's not a
That's
very
not
high
much.
bar.
I also feel like saying average in baseball nowadays is not saying much. It's like, all right, I need you to be an average player. What is that? Batting like 244, don't strike out 80% of the time. Like,
Yeah,
I just need you to be like a productive enough guy for like the OPS over like 750.
yeah. John, I mean, again, I think the depth signing of Justin Turner is good, but
I think it's incredibly important.
I think it is too. But I'm just saying, you hope that he's not gonna have to start.
Here's the problem with this. This is a case of six in one hand, half dozen in the other. Uh, Shaw has only had 35 games in AAA. His AAA uh, batting average is a 298, which you could say that is impressive. However, that's a small sample size. Double A, it's 281, but he played 101 games. So okay, there's that. You could say he adapted. Here's the thing. If you start him at third opening day, this is the first time he's facing major league pitching, in when it matters. Because obviously spring training is spring training. So you have that with him. And if he struggles, which it's very hard making that jump from AAA to the majors. So if he struggles, that could hurt his confidence, and then you have to send him back down to get that confidence again, and et cetera, et cetera. And then you might be stuck with Turner come the end of the season. What I almost think would be the smart play for the Cubs to do is to not bring Shaw up until probably about May or June, depending on how things are going. Don't have him on the opening day roster. Let him get more AAA numbers and see more high minors and potentially even major league pitching in AAA, and then bring him up, see how he does, and then if he is struggling, such as 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 Jackson Holiday did, then
I've been waiting for that comparison.
yeah, if he struggles, then bring him up in like August and get his confidence back up, because when you look at these young guys, when they're tearing it up and they're going to be, the next hot corner, they're going to be the next, Brooks Robinson, they're going to be the next A-Rod here at the hot corner position. It's very easy for their confidence to get shaken, and then they're no good to you, because in baseball you have to have confidence. You have to have that ability and that know that I'm going to come up here and I'm going to get on base no matter what, because otherwise you're not going to be successful. And if you screw that up for this kid who is only 22 years old, it's going to be even longer, and you're not going to be able to get what you want out of him.
Jackson Holiday and Kobe Mayo ruined this guy's thoughts of what teams should do with prospects.
No, listen. I just think that you almost need to protect these guys from themselves and be like, and give them grace here.
Yeah. I mean, if he has an awful spring training, yeah, I don't think he'll make the team, but
I don't think that should even be a factor. I don't think it should be a factor. Don't base it off of spring training.
I will say
he needs more seasoning in the minors.
They have depth though, right? Like they have kind of two. Of course, they have Turner, but they also have like two utility guys and Bruhan and Birdie. So like,
but the hot corner is not a position you want a utility guy at, really.
No, but
I would say second base is more that.
It's guys that have experience, and then I think I do think they're probably going to try to have him make the team and stuff like that. I think they're going to maybe push it a little bit to see what they get from him. But if it fails and they need to send him back down for like a confidence boost, they have guys that can fill in and give you respectable numbers. So I'm not concerned about that. It's just going to be a matter of how high is his ceiling this year for, what production are you going to get from him. And how that affects that roster. Like that's my thing about it. But I agree. You got to be careful with prospects. Like
It's risky, in my opinion. You almost shoot yourself in the foot and take away part of the season for him to keep developing
I,
if you rush him
so
in a
I mean,
sense.
I don't think they rushed him. I don't think there's that at all.
yeah. I
But
mean,
I mean, yeah,
I
they
think
took it.
it's
They're gonna take the chance, but the Shaw's the they're giving Shaw the chance now to see what he does at third. If he rises to the occasion, great. Your young guy did what you wanted them to do. If he doesn't, you'll trade for someone by the All-Star, by the trade deadline, because this team has shown in this offseason they're aggressive and ready to kind of put themselves at the top of the division, which is easily up for grabs.
yeah. I think there is options there, and I think it's always a good sign for a prospect when they kind of fly through AA and AAA, and had the numbers he had. So we'll see. Again, now you kind of have to think about it with like Holiday and stuff, but we'll see if he ends up taking that spot.
35 games in AAA is really it's a small sample size.
But he had
It
a
is.
full season last year still, so I don't think that
No, he only had
matters.
part of the season. He started in AA.
Yeah, but he's saying
But
he
a
played.
season in the minors, not just
Yeah.
AAA.
Okay.
He got honestly a month's worth in AAA is I think okay to give him a shot, but I do think spring training is part of it just because because it's not necessarily the results. There's a whole lot else that goes into spring training, especially behind the scenes that we won't see. And we shouldn't necessarily see pertaining to how he's working well with players, how well he's making adjustments that they're noticing that we may not necessarily be seeing. There's all types of little things that could help dictate whether you think the guy's ready to take the chance. But yeah, it's taking a chance. It's always going to be taking a chance with prospects. I'm a Phillies fan. We went through 3 third baseman prospects that were A-listers, we thought, till we are right now settling on Bohm. I know what it's like to have failed third base prospects.
And they're
But
still
in
not
the end,
sold
for
on
a
him.
team,
I was about to say nobody's sold
we're-
on boom.
we're sold more than the media gives us credit
Yeah,
for. So
yeah.
shut up, media. But in
Isn't
the
that
end with
technically
baseball,
what we
especially
are?
when it comes to play, yeah, I was talking to you guys when I said media.
Sorry.
But for baseball teams, especially October teams, the team that you have at the end of the season is very different than what you have at the beginning of the season. You just are trying to compile enough guys to help get you through the different waves that you have at the season. And right now, it's the push to see how all these pieces are working out, and then you make the adjustments as the year goes on and things go up and down.
Another young guy for this team that I'm interested to see what he is able to do is Pete Crow-Armstrong,
Gold
aka
Glove, calling it now.
aka PCA, which when I put PCA on our document, Will goes, "What the fuck is a PCA?" Which I thought was kind
Pacific
of
Coast Academy.
I thought was kind of hilarious. But here's a guy. I'm gonna do it. Here's a guy who has that defensive ability. He's a pretty good defender, but at the plate he lacked last year. And I feel like this name has been bouncing around a lot because he was a part. What deal was he a part of? Because I know he was with the Mets. I can't think about it now. I'll look it up while you talk, Will. But this was a
I
very
was gonna look it up. Damn it.
this is a very coveted prospect. And I mean, what do you think about him on the offensive side of the plate? Can he step it up this year?
As someone that's had Johan Rojas on my team, my thoughts about defensive first outfield. I mean, I think that he's definitely. I think his defensive abilities are so strong right now that, like the Phillies last year, when it came to Rojas, it might not matter that much. I mean, I'd say when it comes to players that are defense first, you don't really care if they're power bats. You really just care about how often they can get on base. So he had a 286 on base percentage in his limited time last year. He had 237 average. He did have 47 RBIs. So if he could get his on base percentage to like 330, regardless of what his average looks like, and give you 50 RBIs, more importantly, he gives you Gold Glove caliber defense. Have at it. Like he can make up for it with the runs that he can save. And last year he led the league in assists, had 3 errors and 11 defensive runs saved.
Yeah, and I think it looks better when, you had Bellinger there, who again, he was okay offensively. Um, but when you have another guy in the outfield that is able to make stuff happen at the plate and Tucker, I think you can forgive it more. By the way, he was a part of the Javi Baez trade, which is kind of funny. But he was the
Cubs won
prospect
that trade.
yeah, he was the prospect that came over. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that's my point of it is you have Tucker, so you can kind of be forgiving a little bit with PCA. Um, John, what do you think
Oh,
about PCA? Who the fuck is a PCA? John, what do you think about Pete Crow-Armstrong? Can he take that next step to stardom, I should say?
Yeah, I think that's the big question, isn't it? I think he needs to. He
you
needs
think
to
he
get on
will?
base more. He needs to. Yeah, I mean, uh, jeez.
I throw him a curveball.
You did throw me a
No,
curveball. I
you
wasn't
threw
prepared
him
for
a
that.
splinter.
I was focused on his batting average. I was focused on his fielding. Like
His feelings?
he's a glove first player, and that's the thing. And that's a good thing. That's what you need, especially in the outfield, especially for your center fielder. But, you know, where he's lacking is clearly at the plate. So you need to increase your on base percentage and almost not even worry about your batting average. Get on base. You were
Yeah,
fast enough where you can get on base and you can take second once you take first.
yeah.
Okay? So, if you get on base, you're an asset. That's all it is. Just get on base.
You get
He was
definitely be a
a he
productive
has
guy
a
for them.
he has a 368 on base percentage in his 4 seasons in the minors. But the most walks he's had in the season is 46 in 2023 across 2 levels. And he did strike out 129 times while hitting 20 home runs, but he batted 283.
He's kind of
All
a
Yeah,
fine and
but
weird.
dandy,
last
nice to
year
look at, but
Yeah,
last
I
year
think that
his on base percentage was 286 with batting average 237. That
right. So
is
that's you're right. That's showing the jump difference, and that's basically where I think, especially nowadays, the way teams have pushed heavily power guys, is where someone like Pete Armstrong, who has the speed, who has the defense, that while 20 home runs is sexy and everything, take a step back, worry about 10 if you give a crap about power, but you need to think about how can I keep that average elevated? How can I um keep the walks up, and how can I avoid striking out a lot? Because yeah, he had a 286 on base percentage, which isn't great last year. He also struck out 98 times. Um,
yeah.
so just
Can't hit home runs with the bat on your shoulder.
speed is his weapon. He needs to use that to his advantage. He needs to singles, walks, get on base, and steal second.
last thing I want to talk about, and we'll be quick about this, because I want to save the stuff for projections, but in the very weak NL Central, can the Cubs win this division?
Yes.
I'll go first. I was a year ahead of
As he goes
schedule.
second.
I was a
Did I
year
not
ahead of
say anything?
Nope, you just said yes. I was a year ahead of schedule
What?
here. I think that the Cubs can win this division.
Gonna be interesting.
Ditto.
The Brewers are their only competition. So
Well, you're
again,
not going to
we'll see.
back up your Reds after your off-season.
Wait a
losers
minute.
claim?
Wait a minute.
Hey, no, I remember I said they had a great offseason because now it puts them a year from being, or it puts
No, you
them.
said might not be this year. It might not be next year, and then we ran with that joke.
No, I feel like I meant next year could be their year. I don't know.
No. You said it might not be this year, might not be next year, and might not be the year after that. It might not even be the year after that, but
And then
eventually
maybe
they'll get there.
But the year after that, maybe.
Well, regardless, I feel like the Cubs have a pretty good chance this season. And with that, that wraps up day 6 of Around the League in 30 days. You can follow us on Twitter at BL_breakdowns, Big League Breakdowns, everywhere else. We will continue trucking along. Next episode, we go to the south side of Chicago and talk about the White Sox. It's going to be terrible.
It'll be our quickest episode yet, so we'll find ways to make it long.
They're terrible.
Hopefully.
We have a fantastic job at drawing out segments about bad teams. It is our specialty. I don't know how.
We are
Hold on.
great
We have a
with
history about
trash.
arguing about bad teams.
Yes, exactly. We do.
It will
we
be
are
heated.
we are professionals at the Athletics and the Chicago White Sox. So get ready for
That's
that.
more than what the teams themselves can say.
Get ready for that. Again, if you liked the video, make sure you like it. Subscribe if you really liked it. Again, we're pushing through this 30-day video challenge, if you will. So definitely stick around and support us. But that is all for us in this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Fly the W and wear your seatbelt.